بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وموالاه. Inshallah, continuing with the lesson. Today, alhamdulillah, we are in the 14th lesson of the chapter of the book Shamail Tirmidhi, with the reference with the commentary of Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah alayhi Khaza'in al-Nabawi. So today inshallah we will be going through the chapter Babu ma ja'a fi jilsati Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, chapter on Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's way of sitting, how he used to sit. In this chapter is described the sitting of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the different postures he adopted. 3 ahadith are mentioned here. Our sitting should also be like the sitting of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. حدثنا عبد الله بن حميد حدثنا عفان بن مسلم حدثنا عبد الله بن حسان حدثنا عن جدته عن قيلة بنت مخرمة أنها رأت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في المسجد وهو قاعد القرفصاء. قالت فلما رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المتخشع في الجلسة فأوعدت على الفرق. قيلة ابن مخرمة بنت مخرمة رضي الله عنها reports, I saw Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم in the masjid in a very humble posture, sitting in the qarfasa posture. Due to his awe-inspiring personality, I began shivering. The ulama differ in the explanation of the word qarfasa. The most commonly known is that while sitting on the ground, to lift both thighs in an upright position and fold both arms around the leg. It is also termed in the Urdu language as sitting goat marke. So sitting like this. Qarfasa. The Prophet ﷺ was sitting with his thighs up. The reason the awe was that at this moment Sayyidina Rasulullah ﷺ was in some deep thought and worry. He never worried over little things. He feared that perhaps a punishment or calamity might descend on the ummah. This seems to be the hadith that has been mentioned briefly in hadith number 12 in the chapter on the dressing of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Thus, this hadith has another portion which the author has shortened, where it continues that one amongst those present, after seeing Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sayyidina Qila radiyallahu anha shivering, said, "O Rasulullah, this poor woman is trembling." Sayyidina Qila radiyallahu anha says, "I was behind Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he did not look towards me. He only said, 'O poor woman, be calm, chill out.'" As soon as Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this, all this fear in me vanished. Subhanallah, instantly. Instant reaction. In some narration, this incident is narrated of a man, as has been mentioned in the chapter on the dressing of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we went through the hadith in that chapter. So the Prophet of Allah was sitting in the qarfasa posture. That is the highlight of this narration. حدثنا سعيد بن عبد الرحمن المخزومي وغير واحد قالوا حدثنا سفيان عن الزهري عن عباد بن تميم عن عمه أنه رأى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مستلقيا في المسجد واضعا إحدى رجليه على الأخرى. The uncle of Abbad ibn Tamim, Abdullah ibn Zayd radiyallahu an, reports, I have seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam lying flat on his back in the masjid with one leg resting on the other. in a narration of Sahih Muslim, it has been prohibited to sleep in this manner, to lie on the back. The ulama have summed up both narrations in different ways. A simple explanation is that there are two different postures of sleeping referred to in this manner, both of which have been verified in separate ahadith. The first is to put the legs flat and rest the one leg on the other. This manner has been mentioned in the Shamail, and there is no harm in adopting this. The second manner is to lie with both knees raised, then rest one leg on another. This verifies the narration of Sahih Muslim. The reason for Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prohibiting the second manner is because the lungi was generally worn in Arabia at that time, and it is very likely that the private parts would be exposed in this manner, so for modesty protection. It has also been argued here that this hadith is not relevant to the sitting of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's more of lying down, not sitting. The ulama give different reasons for this. The simplest one of that is this chapter on sitting. The general meaning of both sitting and lying down is taken, although some of the narrations on lying down will be mentioned in the chapter on sleeping. It may also be possible, as Ibn Hajar Asqalani rahmatullahi has explained, that this type of sleeping, despite being prohibited in the narration, is permissible in the masjid. Therefore, to sit in different postures should also be permissible. So this is more like regarding lying down of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Another dedicated chapter is coming regarding the sleeping of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the methodology, the way of sleeping. حدثنا سلمة ابن شبيب حدثنا عبد الله ابن إبراهيم المدني حدثنا إسحاق ابن محمد الأنصاري عن ربيح ابن عبد الرحمن ابن أبي سعيد عن أبيه عن جده أبي سعيد الخدري رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا جلس في المسجد احتبى بيديه. Abu Sa'id Khudri radiallahu anhu says, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat in the masjid, he sat in the qarfasa posture. By qarfasa, which in Urdu is goat market, is meant to sit on the back with both thighs raised and both arms folded around the thighs, which I have mentioned. Sometimes instead of the arms, a cloth, lungi or a turban is tied around the back. Both thighs and legs. So instead of your hands, you put some cloth there. This manner of sitting displays humbleness and peacefulness. For this reason, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam many a time sat in this posture. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum also sat in this manner, but it was not the object to always sit in this manner. This does not contradict the narration mentioned in Abu Dawud, from which we gather from Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he sat cross-legged from after Fajr till Ishraq, sunrise, in the masjid. It also does not contradict the other ahadith narrated on this subject. By sitting in the posture described in the hadith and the discussion, qarfasa, like I mentioned before, besides showing humbleness, one gains rest also. So a person feels a bit feels at rest, tiredness goes away. It is also said that sitting in a qarfasa posture is like leaning on a wall for the Arabs. You may have seen many Bedouins in the desert sitting like this. This is because in the wilderness there are no walls to lean upon. Therefore, this manner of sitting is in place of leaning on a wall. Many a time, instead of the hands, a cloth was tied around the body and the legs, thus affording more rest, more peace. Subhanallah. So this was the sitting of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a humble sitting, yet, subhanallah, such a peaceful and filled with rest. May Allah give us the ability to sit like the sitting of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next chapter, Babu ma ja'a fi tuk'ati Rasulillahi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Chapter on the pillow of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The author has mentioned 4 ahadith in this chapter. The pillow. Subhanallah, what a pillow that would have been. حدثنا عباس ابن محمد الدوري البغدادي حدثنا إسحاق بن منصور عن إسرائيل عن سماك بن حرب عن جابر بن سمرة رضي الله عنه قال رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم متكئا على وسادة على يساره. Jabir ibn Samura radiallahu anhu reports, I observed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam lean on a pillow which was on his left side. Shaykh Zakaria rahmatullahi mentioned in the commentary, it is permissible to put a pillow on both the right and the left, as stated in the hadith. The left side is mentioned, but only incidentally. According to the rules and regulation of the muhaddithin, hadith scholars, the left side is not mentioned in the well-known narrations. Imam Tirmidhi rahmatullahi has for this reason commented on this at the end of this chapter. He mentions, because in the original, most common narration of this type, the left side is not mentioned. So he will explain it at the end. حدثنا حميد بن مسعدة حدثنا بشر بن مفضل حدثنا الجريري عن عبد الرحمن بن أبي بكر عن أبيه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ألا أحدثكم بأكبر الكبائر قالوا بلى يا رسول الله قال الإشراك بالله وعقوق الوالدين قال وجلس رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وكان متكئا وقال وشهادة الزور أو قول الزور قال فما زال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقولها حتى قلنا ليته سكت. Subhanallah, what a scene that would have been. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, must I not show you a great sin from amongst the greatest sin? Akbarul Kabair? The Sahaba replied, yes, O Prophet of Allah, do tell us. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, to ascribe a partner with Allah. That is the greatest sin. Like I mentioned the other day, Allah, who is our creator, our nourisher, our sustainer, our cherisher, only Him and Him alone is to be worshipped, and Him alone is to be asked for help. But when somebody asks, or somebody worships, or somebody bows down to anything else besides Allah, then that is shirk. That is the greatest of the greatest sin. Number 2, to disobey one's parents. Number 3, to bear false witness or tell a lie. The narrator is not sure which of the two Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said. To bear false oath or to tell a lie, which of the two? At that time, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was leaning on something when he mentioned lies, he sat up. So he stopped leaning and he sat up, and because of its importance began to repeat it many times. What did he begin to repeat many times? To bear false witness, or to tell a lie, to tell a lie, to tell a lie, to bear false witness, whichever of the two. He started repeating it many times till we began hoping that he would stop and not repeat it so many times. Listen? Like the Sahaba, not in a disrespectful way, they wanted him to stop, but in a way that, alhamdulillah, we have understood its importance, so you don't need to get the trouble to repeat it again. They were very respectful people. The Prophet of Allah sitting, just imagine the scene, the Prophet of Allah is sitting in the middle like a moon, and the Sahaba around him are like stars. What a scene that would have been. May Allah grant us their company in Jannah, inshallah. The reason for the Sahaba radiallahu anhum wishing that Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam should stop repeating it is because of their love for Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they fear that he would become tired of repeating it again and again. It is enough to say a thing once. It could be possible that he might have become angry, or that in anger Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam might say something that would become a cause of loss to the ummah. Those that attend these type of religious or worldly assemblies are well aware of such situations. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam repeated this to show its importance. Lies and falsehood inevitably gets a person involved in adultery, murder, and many other sins. So like the root of all evils. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said, when a person lies, the malaika stay a distance of a mile away from him because of the odor, the smell it causes in a person's mouth. Even it chases the angel away. He has also said, a mu'min believer cannot be a liar. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu anhu says, stay away from lies, because lies keep away iman. Meaning, lying and iman doesn't get together. If lying is there, iman won't be there. In this hadith, the major sins are mentioned in the Sharia. There are two types of sins. One is the minor sins, which are forgiven after performing wudu, salah, saum, hajj, etc. The second is the major or greater sin. These are never forgiven without sincere tawbah, repentance. Certainly, if Allah will, He will forgive even the major sins through His great mercy. This is an exception, but the fundamental law is that they are not forgiven without sincere tawbah. The ulama differ as to the count of the major sins, as to exactly how many they are. Special books have been written on this subject alone. Allama Zahabi rahimahullah has written a special book on this subject, Al-Kaba'ir, wherein he has counted 400 major sins. Allama Ibn Hajar Makki has also written a 2-volume book which has been printed in Egypt. He has mentioned all the major sins on every subject, like of salah, saum, zakat, hajj, etc. He has counted 467 major sins in detail. Mullah Ali Qari rahmatullah alayhi has written in the commentary of the Shamail Tirmidhi, the common major sins are as follows: to murder a person, adultery, homosexuality, the drinking of wine and other intoxicants, theft, falsely accusing a person, refusing to give evidence of a factual incident, take a false oath, unlawful taking possession of another, wealth or belonging, running away from war against non-believers without a valid reason, dealing in interest, stealing an orphan's possessions, taking and giving bribes, disobeying parents, cutting off relationships with one's relative, relating a false hadith. Allahu Akbar, relating a false hadith. That's a major sin. فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. The Prophet of Allah says he should make his place in the fire. At this time when there are so many messages going around, hadith of the day, nasiha of the day, advice of the week, message of the week, we need to be very careful. The hadith that we spread, we need to get it checked. Sometimes it has a reference at the end in brackets, Bukhari, Muslim, or whatever book, but when we refer to that original book, the hadith is not even there. So somebody has just made it up, Allah knows, and just to authenticate it, they have just made something up and put it in a bracket. Allahu Akbar. Especially when a new Islamic month starts, then you see many hadith going around, made up, fabricated hadith. The one who gives the news of this month first, for him is such and such a reward and such a thing. No basis. Major sin, even to forward it. If a person receives it, immediately, if he has no knowledge about it, he should stay away from it, don't do anything until he checks it with a learned scholar or somebody who can then verify it whether it can be forwarded or not. Breaking fast in Ramadan without a valid reason. Cheating in measures and way when a person does business, not giving the full measure. Performing a fard salah before or after its stipulated time. Avoiding paying zakat. Hitting or ill-treating a Muslim or non-Muslim with whom an agreement has been made. Accusing or talk ill of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. Major sin. Backbiting, especially about an alim or a hafiz of the Quran. Ajib. Backbiting. So common. We don't even regard this as a sin anymore. Telling tales to an oppressor, being shameless and accept the prostitution or unlawful habits of one's wife or daughters, pimping, abstaining from amr bil ma'roof wa nahi anil munkar, meaning commanding to do good and prohibiting from evil, committing evil. A person should not only do good, he should command other people to do good as well. He shouldn't just stay away from evil himself, he should tell others to stay away from as well, he should prohibit others. Otherwise, if he don't do this, he is committing a major sin. Whilst having the strength and means to do so, stopping others, commanding others, practicing black magic, sihr, this is kufr, jadoo, and teaching it to and for others, casting a spell on someone, learning the Quran and forgetting it. May Allah save us. Burning a living thing without a valid reason, giving up hope of attaining Allah's mercy, having no fear of His punishment. A woman disobeying her husband and without valid reason refuse to fulfill his desires. These are some of the major sins. Mullah Ali Qari Rahmatullah given the above examples of major sins in the Mazahir al-Haq translation of commentary of Mishkat. A special chapter has been written in the beginning wherein similar major sins have been mentioned. It has also been stated therein that to ascribe a partner with Allah in whatever form, for example, making a partner in praying to Him, in seeking assistance, in knowledge, in His divine power and authority, in creating, in calling someone not present for help, in saying listen, so all these things. somebody else, in slaughtering, calling somebody else's name while slaughtering, offering a vow, or the handing over all such matters to people instead of Allah. The following are also included in the Kitab, Mazahir Haq, to make an intention to persist in sinning. I'm not going to stop this sin. That's in itself a huge, greatest sin. To consume intoxicant, marry one's mahram, somebody who unlawful to marry sister, daughter, etc. Gambling, keep friendship with non-believers, meaning such friendships which you don't have no limits. It goes beyond the board. A person, he starts giving away secrets. A person, he becomes a means of betraying Islam and Muslims. Then that is wrong. Being nice to them, being kind to them, that is fine. Not to take part in jihad whilst having the power to do so. Eat the meat of a dead animal. Have faith in an astrologer, horoscopes, and the forecast of soothsayers. Criticize Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Malaika, and to deny his Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prophethood and the Malaika's existence. Criticize the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. Cause a quarrel and fight between husband and wife. Be wasteful. Create rebellion, intrigue or mischief. Appear rude before others, besides one wife or husband. Be niggardly and stingy. Selfish, not cleansing oneself from urine and sperm, i.e. if these fall onto the clothing and body and are not washed. Disbelieve and refute taqdeer, divine preordinations, something which has been preordained. May Allah save us. This has become so common. People are doubting taqdeer. Their iman are at stake. They are about to lose. Just today got a message. 2 people are on the verge of leaving. Allah save us, around our area. May Allah safeguard our iman. I mentioned it in Jummah as well. Try to read 2 rak'ahs, Salatul Shukr, Salatul Haja. Wallah. Alhamdulillah alladhi hadana lihada wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. If it was not for the blessing of Allah, I wouldn't have been able to be guided the way on the path I am on. لولا الله ما اهتدينا ولا تصدقنا ولا صلينا. Amazing. We need to do Salatul Haja every day. Allahumma thabbitna ala al-iman. There used to be a time when wearing and doing the actions of kufr became a fashion. Today, na'udhu billah, we are living in a time, may Allah save us, where to do kufr itself has become the fashion. And people, they don't even realize what they are doing. Allah save one and all. Lower the trousers or lungi, waist up below the ankles in pride. Lament a person's death, meaning going over the board, screaming and shouting and ripping clothes. Begin or invent a bad mode, thing or manner. Be ungrateful to a benefactor, a person who has done a favor on you, you are ungrateful to him. That's a big sin as well. Call a Muslim a disbeliever. A Muslim, calling him a disbeliever. Have intercourse with a menstruating woman. Become happy when food becomes scarce. Commit a sexual act with an animal. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Look at a man with lust peep or spy in another person's house, degrade the ulama or the huffaz of the Quran, all major sins. Fail to treat all wives equally if one has more than one wife. Be unfaithful to the Amir or leader, etc. The major sins also have their stages. That is why in the above hadith, only the main ones among the major sins are mentioned according to these circumstances. The ulama have written that to keep on committing a minor sin results in it becoming a major sin. And by repenting sincerely, a major sin is forgiven. A sincere tawbah is that one should make a firm resolution that one shall not commit that sin again. That is the sincere tawbah. That's it. He stops immediately, makes a firm resolution not to do it again, and he regrets what he has done. Until these three qualities, these three attributes are not found, it is not a sincere tawbah. And if it's something which a person has done to another creation, then he needs to ask forgiveness from them as well. May Allah grant us understanding. So the Prophet of Allah was leaning on something, and then he stopped his leaning, he sat up, right? Said, Ala wa qawl al-zur, ala wa shahadat al-zur, ala wa qawl al-zur, ala wa shahadat al-zur. حديث number 3. حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد حدثنا شريك عن علي بن أقمر عن أبي جحيفة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أما أنا فلا آكل متكئا. Abu Juhayfa radiallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I do not lean when I have meals. The manner of eating is against humility when leaning, and it derives one to eat more. Some people are of the opinion that it results in creating a large tummy, common nowadays, stomach, and the food also does not digest quickly because of leaning. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions himself so that he may be emulated. So if the Prophet of Allah does not lean while eating, his ummah should follow him and also not lean while eating. The ulama write that there are 4 methods of leaning, and all 4 are included here. The first is to lean with either side of the body or on a wall, pillow, etc. So you're leaning on a wall or something, you have a back, a nice leathery chair to lean your back on. The second is to lean with the palms on the ground. The third is to sit cross-legged on a pillow. The fourth method is to lean with the back on a large pillow or wall. All these postures are included in the above prohibitions. Meaning the Prophet of Allah, he said, as for me, I don't lean, I don't eat in this way. Allah grants us the ability to follow and emulate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It will save us from many illnesses. Then the food doesn't digest properly, then the stomach comes out, then pressure, sugar, heart problems, obesity, and the list continues. If we follow the lifestyle of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, healthy eating, healthy way of eating, healthy living, healthy lifestyle. The Sunnah lifestyle is not just a Jannah lifestyle, it's also a healthy lifestyle in this world. Subhanallah. حدثنا محمد بن بشار حدثنا عبد الرحمن ابن مهدي حدثنا سفيان عن علي بن أقمر قال سمعت أبا جحيفة يقول قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا آكل متكئا. حدثنا يوسف بن عيسى حدثنا وكيع حدثنا إسرائيل عن سماك بن حرب عن جابر بن سمرة قال رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم متكئا على وسادة. قال أبو عيسى لم يذكر وكيع على يساره، وهكذا روى غير واحد عن إسرائيل نحو رواية وكيع، ولا نعلم إحدى روى فيه على يساره إلا ما رواه إسحاق بن منصور عن إسرائيل. Subhanallah, how specific they were in narrating hadith. Jabir ibn Samurah radiallahu anhu says, I had seen Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam lean on a pillow. This is the same hadith mentioned at the beginning of the chapter. The author wanted to comment on this hadith, therefore it is repeated. Meaning in the first one he said it was on his left. He said that narration which mentions on the left is only mentioned by Isa ibn Mansur. No other. All the other narrators, Ishaq ibn Mansur, all the other narrators, they only mention that he was leaning on a pillow. They don't mention right or left. So he's just trying to say that how specific the narrations they were. Subhanallah. May Allah grant us love for the ahadith, for the Shamail, the lifestyle of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let us go into little intricate detail to get the best out of it. Subhanallah. Inshallah, before we finish, we'll go on to another chapter. Babu ma ja'a fi ittika'i Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Chapter on Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam leaning on something other than a pillow. The pillow has been discussed in the previous chapter which we just did. Besides this, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took support of people at the time of illness and also leaned on them, as is evident from the narrations. The author has therefore written this chapter separately. Two narrations are mentioned in this chapter. حدثنا عبد الله بن عبد الرحمن حدثنا عمر بن عاصم حدثنا حماد بن سلمة عن حميد عن أنس رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان شاكيا فخرج يتوكأ على أسامة وعليه ثوب قطري قد توشح به فصلى بهم. Anas radiallahu anhu reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam became ill. For this reason he came out of his room with the support of Usama radiallahu anhu and led the Sahaba in Salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam wore a Yamani printed shawl at that time. This has been discussed in hadith number 6 in the chapter on the clothing of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we won't go into the detail again. حدثنا عبد الله بن عبد الرحمن حدثنا محمد بن المبارك حدثنا عطاء بن مسلم الخفاف الحلبي حدثنا جعفر بن برقان عن عطاء بن أبي رباح عن الفضل بن عباس قال دخلت على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في مرضه الذي توفي فيه وعلى رأسه عصابة صفراء فسلمت عليه فقال يا فضل قلت لبيك يا رسول الله قال أشدد بهذه الأصابة رأسي فقال ففعلت ثم قعد فوضع كفه على منكبي ثم قال ودخل في المسجد وفي الحديث قصة. Very emotional hadith. The moments, the final illness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Fadl ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says, I came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the time of his last illness before he passed away. A yellow band was fastened around his Mubarak, blessed head, on the blessed head of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I greeted him, and after replying, he asked me to fasten the band tightly around his blessed head. I carried out his request. Thereafter Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat up, then stood up supporting himself on my shoulder and entered the masjid. There is a detailed incident on this hadith. Shaykh Zakir rahmatullahi goes into the detail. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fastened the band because of a headache. Some ulama have translated it as a turban instead of a band. It is evident that Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wore different colored turbans. The proof of the yellow turban is taken from this hadith. Like I mentioned, the Prophet of Allah wore different colored, black, white, yellow. The incident which Imam Tirmidhi has referred to has been mentioned in detail in the Kitab Majma'ul Zawaid. Sayyidina Fadl radiallahu anhu says, I attended the noble assembly of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I noticed that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a fever and a band was fastened around his blessed head. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, hold my hand. I held his hand and we entered the masjid. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sat on the mimbar and said, call the people. I went to gather the people. After reciting the hamd and the sana, meaning praise and thanks to Allah, he addressed them on this subject. The time has come near when I shall leave you. Whosoever I had hit on the back may take revenge. Whosoever I have dishonored or disgraced wrongfully, let him take revenge by dishonoring me. Let no person fear that if he takes revenge, I shall hate him. For it is not my nature to do so, nor is it appropriate for me to do so. Remember, that person shall be very dear to me who avenges himself or forgives me. Subhanallah. So that I may meet my Creator in happiness and without fear. The Prophet of Allah, who was guaranteed Jannah, everything was forgiven. I will not consider it sufficient to announce this once only, but shall announce it again. And he repeated it again and again. Thereafter he descended from the mimbar. After performing the Zuhr Salah, he again ascended the mimbar and made the same announcement. He also repeated about the hatred as mentioned above, and added that if anyone owes anything, let him pay it, because the disgrace of this world is much less than the disgrace of the akhirah. A person stood up and said, O Prophet of Allah, you owe me 3 dirham. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I will not refute someone's claim, nor will I make him swear an oath, but I would like to ask you, how and when was it taken? He replied, a beggar once came to you, you asked me to give him 3 dirham. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Sayyidina Fadl radiyallahu an to pay him the 3 dirham. Thereafter another person got up and said, I owe the Baytul Mal, public treasury, 3 dirham, which I cheated and wrongfully took from it. Subhanallah, you know how clean and pure they were. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, why did you cheat? He replied, at that time I was in need and very desperate. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked Sayyidina Fadl radiyallahu anhu to collect the money from him. Thereafter Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam announced, if anyone fears one's habits, let him ask for a dua, because the time for departure is near. A person got up and said, O Rasulullah, I am a liar, a munafiq, hypocrite, and I sleep a lot. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua for him. O Allah, grant him truthfulness, a strong and complete iman, faith, and cure from the illness of sleeping a lot. After that, another person stood up and said, O Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I am a liar, a munafiq, and there is no sin which I have not committed. Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu anhu warned him that he was openly declaring his sins. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, O Umar, be calm. The disgrace of the world is lighter and better than the disgrace of the akhirah, of the hereafter. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua for that person. O Allah, grant him truthfulness and a strong iman and make his life a better one. Thereafter Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu got up and said something to the congregation, in reply to which Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Umar is with me and I am with Umar. After me, Umar will remain on the truth wherever he goes. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. What a statement. In another hadith, it is stated that a person got up and said, O Rasulullah, I am a coward and have the sickness of sleeping a lot. Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua for him. Sayyidina Fadl radiallahu anhu says, we saw thereafter that there was no person braver than him. Just imagine the effect of the dua of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "O Prophet of Allah, I am a coward." After that, we never saw anybody more braver than him. Subhanallah. After this, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to the room of Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha and repeated to the women folk that what he had said to the men folk. So he gave the same message to the women. One Sahabiya got up and said, "O Rasulullah, I am helpless from my tongue." Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made dua for her. Meaning, sometimes I get carried away talking. These people call themselves munafiq, hypocrite, because of the fear they had of Allah. A few incidents are related in the second chapter of the stories of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. You know, Fadailul Amal, Hikayatul Sahaba, the first part. Few in the second chapter is mentioned. Due to this, to the great fear that overcame them, they sometimes thought they had become hypocrites. Even Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who is the best person amongst the entire ummah of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the consensus of the Ahlul Haqq, the rightful ones, also at times felt that he had become a munafiq, as we find mentioned in the stories of Sahaba radiallahu anhum. Amazing. May Allah grant us the fear of Allah. The Prophet of Allah in another hadith said that the iman of the whole ummah on one side, on one part of the scale, and the iman of Abu Bakr on the other side, the iman of Abu Bakr will outweigh the iman of the whole ummah. And that person with such iman fears hypocrisy on himself. When Hanzala radiallahu anhu was saying, "Nafaqa Hanzala, Nafaqa Hanzala," Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu joined him. Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu joined him. Amazing. May Allah grant us the fear of Allah. Like somebody said it, that a hypocrite thinks himself to be free from hypocrisy. Amazing. May Allah grant us understanding. Which is from the incident of Ibn Abu Mulaika says, I saw 30 people amongst the Sahaba radiallahu anhum who feared that they might have become munafiq. Hassan Basri rahmatullahi, who is amongst the great Sufi and a Tabi'i, says, these Muslims of the past, meaning the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and the present Muslims, meaning those living amongst the Sahaba and the Tabi'in, they are none amongst them who do not fear their nifaq, hypocrisy. And in the past, the present times, there is no munafiq that is not content. It is also reported that Hassan Basri rahmatullahi, that the person that does not fear hypocrisy is in actual fact a munafiq. Allahu Akbar. Ibrahim Taymi, who is amongst the fuqaha of the Tabi'een, says, whoever I compare my sayings to my deeds, I fear that they may be false. Meaning, my words, my sayings may be false. Fathul Bari. What is meant is the fear of all these great personalities had for their own deeds. The fear they had for their own deeds. They were not content. They thought of them as things that did not exist, nor had any value, as if nothing had been accomplished. They always feared that their advisors and counsels, etc., might become a means of their hypocrisy. Allahu Akbar. May Allah fill our hearts with the fear of Almighty Allah. May Allah fill our lives with the fear of Almighty Allah. Now inshallah we'll leave it till there. I will just read through the Shamail, the Khulasa, the sitting of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would squat on his heels, clasping his knees, with his arms, and that was how he usually sat. Sometimes he would lie down in the masjid with one foot over the other. Regarding the leaning of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would lean on cushions, sometime on his left and sometime on his right, which was more common. The right side was more common. He forbade anyone from eating whilst reclining, whilst leaning, and he would not do this himself. When he was ill and wanted to go out, he leaned on one of his companions, like Sayyidina Usama radiallahu anhu, or Sayyidina Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, and also Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. So that is regarding the leaning and sitting of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The next chapter is regarding the eating of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we will do next time, next lesson, next week inshallah. May Almighty Allah grant us the ability to follow the lifestyle of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah make it a means of our salvation in this world, and make it a means of our salvation in the akhirah. Ameen wa sallallahu wa sallam ala rasulina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.